Hello everybody and welcome to Nathan on Shuffle and to my latest episode of New Music Weekly, the show where I give you guys the prog news, give you guys some curated singles to listen to, and give you updates on what's happening here on the channel on Nathan on Shuffle. It's August 30th, 2024, and there's some interesting things coming out. It's probably going to be a little bit of a shorter episode, but I think there's some cool things to bring up to you guys. First of all, kind of the release schedule. There's a lot of really interesting releases that cover a lot of different niches in the progressive rock landscape. You've got the new Leprous album coming out today, Melodies of Atonement, for those who are into the more progressive metal, harder edged part of the scene, a little bit more dark and moodier. But as of late, they haven't been delving as much as they used to into like the more extreme prog metal type stuff. But a good listen for those fans of like more quirky progressive metal with progressive rock leanings with a bit of a moodier, more darker tone. I may review it on the channel, but I haven't quite decided yet if I'm gonna. I have a lot of albums to cover. I'm not sure if that's gonna make the cut, but I'm sure I'll mention it in a future episode of some sort. Tusmørke have their album Dawn of Oberon coming out today. Also, it's more of kind of the folkier, more retro prog type stuff, that's coming out of Norway and those areas in the world. Really fun, quirky vibes on this one, so well worth checking out if you're into that scene. Bent Knee have an album, 20 Pills Without Water, which is more in your quirky indie prog kind of style, bit of a pop influence, but they always keep it interesting and entertaining with some modern elements. I really like their sound. Incredible female vocals in their group, one of the big highlights of the sound that they portray. And then just discovered Anciients and their album Beyond the Reach of the Sun, which is definitely more into the heavier progressive metal vein. Think Opeth and Mastodon, those styles of bands, but really well done. A great balance between kind of the heavier, growly vocals and the more clean singing, some folky elements, some hard rock elements. Just a really driving, fun album to listen to that I recommend if you're into the heavier end of the progressive metal spectrum. But getting into some of the news items this week, there's been some interesting box sets coming out from some legendary groups. Dream Theater, in fact, had this announcement of a box set for their Volume 1 of their vinyl releases, curiously leaving off When Dream and Day Unite, but having the next 4 albums in their discography, Images and Words, Awake, Falling into Infinity, and Scenes from Memory. I think it could be like a rights issue in terms of When Dream and Day Unite. It could also be more of a marketing issue, since a lot of people are more of a fan of the band starting with Images and Words. Or it could just be that there's more vinyl available for When Dream and Day Unite currently than those other albums, which have been hard to find. So I'm excited to get a box set of some classic Dream Theater works, and it seems like this is Volume 1, and then there's going to be subsequent volumes coming later to fill out the rest of the catalog if you would like to get those on vinyl. There's also a box set for Fear of a Blank Planet from Porcupine Tree, one of their most highly regarded albums, showing their darker progressive metal side, their 2007 album, and it's a big box set that includes a lot of different things on it. The 2024 remaster of the album itself, 2024 remaster of Nil Recurring EP, which was kind of a companion piece to the album, 55 minutes of previously unreleased demos by both band and Steven Wilson. You got a live recording of a work-in-progress version of the album that was made in 2006. So while they were still refining and developing the material, a 5-track BBC radio session, and a Blu-ray that includes remastered stereo and 5.1 surround sound mixes of Fear of a Blank Planet and Nil Recurring, as well as a 2024 documentary, The Making of Fear of the Blank Planet. So if you're a big fan of this album, this is kind of a no-brainer to get this big sprawling box set with all kinds of goodies. Should be a good release for those who are into Porcupine Tree. And I wanted to mention Big Big Train have announced their support acts for their upcoming UK and European tour for September and October, featuring groups such as League of Lights, which is apparently a collaboration between Threshold keyboard player Richard West and his wife Farah, We've got Haunt the Woods on the list here, which are a great kind of folky indie band. Stuckfish, Pete Jones of Tiger Mothtails fame, Storm Deva, Melanie Mao and Martin Schnella in Germany, which they're a great duo, a team that does some fantastic folky acoustic arrangements of prog classics. BBT Solo is what they're noting for a couple dates where some of the solo members of the group will do kind of a solo set before. Beardfish, which I'll get to, bigger news for Beardfish, but they're going to be doing a date as well. So cool to see like some up-and-coming prog bands, some established favorites accompanying Big Big Train on their tour, and it should be a great show for anybody involved. For those attending, it should be a lot of fun. Now into the prog singles list for this week. 5 really cool, interesting tracks that I've been digging and discovered this week. First, we have Beardfish and their new track In the Autumn, which is super exciting news. I'm a huge Beardfish fan. This is one of my favorite modern prog groups, a Swedish prog rock quartet. They basically had disbanded as a group for quite a while, but now they're back together, reuniting for a new album called Songs for Beating Hearts, which is coming out November 1st on Inside Out Music. Pre-orders are available now. There's different versions, limited CD digipack, gatefold LP, and of course digital album as well. So if you're into Beardfish or into just classic, great symphonic prog, this is a no-brainer. Of course, Beardfish features Rickard Sojablom, who's part of Big Big Train as well, so a notable figure bringing the band back together. It sounds like they had this reunion idea in 2021 and made it fully realized just this past year or so. They've been playing, I believe they've played a couple live dates. They're on the docket to play the next Cruise to the Edge, so a lot of activity, and it's culminating in this new album. And the track that they've shown from it, the first single, In the Autumn, is a beautiful track. Features some kind of male-female vocal combo, which is really nice, but there's typical quirky proggy style is heard in the track as well. There's an epic on the album that I'm excited for. I've already pre-ordered my copy. I'll be talking about it extensively on the channel, I'm sure. So that to me is the big headline of the week. Next, a track that really impressed me, DGM and their track The Great Unknown. This is an Italian progressive metal group, but to me this new track sounds very much in line with the type of symphonic prog I like, very much in the vein of like Neil Morse band, and I just love it. I think it's a cool track with some great keyboard work, some violin on there. It sounds like their upcoming record called Endless, which comes out October 18th on Frontiers, is a concept album delving a little bit more into progressive rock rather than their typical progressive metal, which this track definitely bears out. So I'm excited to hear more from them. I'm not super familiar with them, but this is a great step in the right direction of something that I really enjoy and will definitely be checking out. I wanted to spotlight Tony Levin at number 3 here. Bringing It Down to the Bass is the track. This features Manu Katché on drums, Dominic Miller on guitar, Pete Levin on keyboards, and Alex Foster on sax. Of course, Tony Levin, pretty remarkable, well-known bass player in the prog sphere, played with King Crimson, done stuff with Liquid Tension Experiment as well. Just a fantastic player who's played with many greats in the music scene. His new album is coming out September 13th, called Bringing It Down to the Bass. So this is the title track. Features a whole host of great guests on the record: Robert Fripp, Mike Portnoy, David Torn, Jerry Marotta, Larry Fast, Steve Gadd, Steve Hunter, Pat Mastelota, just a whole host of different people coming together and playing some interesting music. So this is a cool track. It sounds like this album's very has a lot of different styles and is varied in its sound. Elements of prog, jazz, thrash, classical, and even a whiff of barbershop quartet is how it's described. The album's going to be available on double vinyl, CD, Blu-ray, and digital streaming. The Blu-ray will feature Dolby Atmos makes and stereo, high-res stereo audio, and all that kind of stuff. So definitely well worth your time in checking out. Tony Levin is just a real gem and a great talent. Randy McStein has a new solo track out called Impossible Door, which I just absolutely love. It's more in kind of a power pop style vein. Incredible writer, incredible musician. If you haven't heard his solo stuff, it's well worth checking out. His solo album is coming out, looks like November 1st, Mutual Hallucinations. You can look it up on Bandcamp, of course. I'll have a link for all of these in the description for the YouTube video to check them out. There's some cool guests on this album as well, some drummers. He does most of the instrumentation himself, but on a couple tracks he features the drum work of Pat Mastelotto, Gavin Harrison, Marco Miniman, and Nick DiVirgilio, kind of a who's who of some of the biggest premier progressive rock drummers there. And then Adam Holzman also is on a couple tracks on keyboards, and Steven Wilson makes several of these tracks. So that's really cool to see his collaboration there. Of course, Randy McStein played with Porcupine Tree on their recent tour, so it makes sense that there's a connection there. So should be a great album that I'm sure I'll be listening to and covering in some fashion on the channel. And then finally, a neo-prog band, Perfect Storm, have a track called Don't Go that's out now. This is a Dutch rock sextet. They had a great album that I really loved called No Air that was released in 2021. I believe that's their debut. This is their next upcoming album called Stairs, which is coming out November 14th. So this is the first single from it. There's a female vocalist that's really excellent. It's just really pleasant, nice sounding neo-progressive rock that I just really love and thinks is well worth your time and attention. So those are the 5 tracks. I hope you enjoy those. Like I always say, check it out in the description. I've made a playlist that includes the YouTube videos for all 5 of these tracks, and they're all very much worth your time to invest in. And as for the channel this week, kind of a John Anderson themed week. I did a reaction with Jana to the first side of Elias of Sunhillow. That was a lot of fun. We're going to continue it at some point down the line in a few weeks. But you know, we're trying to kind of experiment with a few different ideas for the Jana content on the channel. There'll always be a Jana themed video on Sundays, but it may not always be your typical reaction. We may be doing more of a top 5 list this Sunday, actually. And we're experimenting with listening to some album sides rather than just shuffling randomly into songs. But we're still doing the shuffle as well. You know, we get together for a recording session. We record 3 or 4 videos together. And so we're trying to vary it a little bit just to keep our interest level up and to put out a couple different style videos and see how they're received by you guys. So let me know if you have any ideas for stuff I could be doing with Jana on the channel. I always appreciate input and feedback on that. I did a couple of reviews. First for John Anderson and the Band Geeks and their new album True, which is getting tons of buzz in the progressive rock community. It seems pretty well loved by most. A lot of great glowing positive reviews about it, and mine was as well. So a great triumphant album by John Anderson and one of the best Yes style albums in recent memory. It's just a fantastic record that showcases all the best about John Anderson and that he's still got a lot in the tank even though he's nearing 80 years old now. So it's really remarkable and a beautiful album. I think the Band Geeks really supported him in a great way and are fantastic on the album in their own right. And I did a review of the new King Crow album called Hopium, which is a really cool record, more in that kind of glitchy, Leprous style vein, but I find it more enjoyable than the new Leprous, if I'm being honest. A bit more fresh and modern and different and exciting. But the Leprous album is also good, so don't get me wrong. A lot of great music, so it doesn't need to be compared. But I just have really enjoyed that record. And I also did a vinyl haul this week. I snuck that into the mix as well, talking about the latest records and CDs that I've gotten over the course of the year. That was a lot of fun. That's always a lot of fun to kind of get a chance to show you what albums I've been digging, what I've been listening to lately, and to show off my collection a little bit, because I really love my collection and it's fun to collect music. So that's what I had for you on the channel. So any of those videos are open and available for you to check out. This week, you know, we have a little bit of a holiday weekend here, at least in the States. So it might be a little bit lighter this week in comparison. I do plan to do a review of the new Pure Reason Revolution album. I think that will be fun for you guys to check out. I'm going to do a video with Jana. Like I said, I think it's going to be like a top 5 style video, but getting her take on a topic rather than just mine. So I think that's going to be a lot of fun. And there's just a whole host of great albums coming out. Almost hard to decide which albums to focus on and which not. And I plan to return to do some more top 5 content in the future as well. So there's a lot of good stuff to look forward to. I hope you guys are enjoying the channel and all the stuff that is going on here. And I'm just grateful for you guys and your support for the channel. So hopefully you're having an enjoyable weekend, and I'll catch you guys in a future episode. Bye everybody, enjoy the music!